Good evening, good people of Brooklyn. Hi, my name is Tiffany, and this is a piece of my life that took place around Valentine's Day when I released an old love in the hopes of something new finding me. An ex I recently recommitted to was in the bathroom when by divine design his phone rang, drawing me to find 22 Hinge notifications. I was disillusioned, but the information freed me. The coffin of our 6-year relationship finally sealed. And after the breakup, I grew surprisingly comfortable with the idea of being single for the rest of my life. I could resign to being a rich auntie or a lady of leisure. But after months of respite, I decided to take on a more open hearted and open minded disposition. I'd given myself a birthday trip to Paris for 10 days. And the call of Paris is one I will always answer. Days there feel like weeks stretched into putty that I could mold into my own design. But I could have never imagined what would happen on this trip. The day after Valentine's Day, I saw him. I decided to take my time and finally make it to this bookshop I've been wanting to visit. They specialize in customizing notebooks, and I wanted to give myself an early birthday gift. The people customizing the notebooks were mostly chic Parisian women, except for one man with a very daunting stature. He was built like a rugby player, with incredibly broad shoulders and a stance that couldn't be moved even by a boulder, just massively designed in the best way. He had loose auburn curly hair, jaw length, and he was wearing a graphic tee and jeans, almost a 70s style to it. And I was drawn to him. My eyes lingered over the enormity of not just his build, but the commanding presence he had. Something about the contrast between someone hard-bodied and a softer, oriented service excited me. And as I stood in line, waiting to get my notebook, I said to myself quietly, I want him to make my notebook. Definitely him. And in an instant, he looked right at me and stretched out his hand with his index finger and middle, dominantly summoning me as the next in line, just for him. I think I skipped, maybe hopped my way into the bookshop. And I sing to myself, I was like, damn, I really am manifesting. This shit works. We talked for almost an hour, and I think other people began to take notice, especially those still waiting in line. He and I exchanged information, and because of the mastery of his presence, let's call him the Matador. I left the bookstore, skipping to a taco shop right next door. And me and a good taco need no explanation in any city, trust me. A young black woman with braids was taking my order, and we were the only two in this taco shop. Suddenly, I felt a low rush of wind, and I saw the Matador come to me. I was calling your name. You forgot your bag, he said. And I did, which I never do. My tote bag filled to the brim with heavy French fruits from the Bastille Market. Thank you, I never forget my bag, I said. He smiled modestly. I wish I could stay. I'm starving, but I have to get back. And our eyes locked into one another, even as words kept the only movement between us. Okay, I said, as our hands rose to meet. I'll see you soon, he replied, and he gripped my hand in his before walking back to the bookshop. That night, he texted me. We exchanged playful banter, tit for tat. I said, is there something you wanted to say but couldn't? Many things. Too many. Well, you have my attention. Dis-moi. Oh, I won't tell you anything before tomorrow night. I'll leave you to your imagination. Sir, teasing me is a dangerous game. I love playing with fire. You think you're playing with fire, but you're actually playing in deep waters. Don't drown. Don't you worry about me. I'm a very good swimmer. He matched my energy. And a date was set for Saturday night. Saturday came like a feverish dream. We met at 9:30, and for once I was early. He was wearing all black, turtleneck, slacks, boots, waiting for me outside the Cambridge Public House, a chic, moody spot that refuses to leave my memory. And almost as soon as we sat down, the matador revealed he's a deeper person and prefers to connect in that way, that he has so many questions and can tell I have a story, and he'd like to hear it from the very beginning. My likes, everything. Holy shit, he sounds like me. I obliged, telling him I grew up in Brooklyn, what it was like. He asked what I believe in, what my parents were like, what I look for in a partner, all the things you're not supposed to ask on a first date, but I couldn't help myself in answering earnestly. He dissolved the walls of pretense, a clunky armor that New York fashions for every native. And I was very open, seemingly, so was he. The matador told me about the passion between his parents, one an older artist, the other with their head above water. Opposites that attract, and mine were the opposites that repelled like oil and water. We talked for what felt like minutes, but ended as hours, and all of him, his mind especially, was impressive to me. And the chemistry between us was palpable, alchemic. The veins in his hands caught my eye, and I began tracing them with my index finger. He told me I should be careful touching him because he feels he wants to touch me and doesn't think he'll be able to stop. Just then, under the table, my lips pulsated between my thighs for what felt like an unbearable amount of time. And when he gazed so intently with his chestnut eyes, I had nowhere to hide. And surprisingly, I didn't want to. I could feel all of his desire, attention, and mastery, all at once, all over. I think a few moments this feeling became obvious and unbearable for us both. And I began to tap my feet and fidget with my hands. The matador vocalized his view of my movements and revealed, when someone fidgets like you're doing now, it's because there is something unsaid. And in a breath of sheer bold will, I responded, I'm incredibly attracted to you. He gave a cheeky smile at this news, paused, and said, I'm really attracted to you too. Was this love? Not sure. But there was something real here, a beginning. The electricity between us only deepened, pulsing on waves of sound and soul I'm unsure either of us expected. But there was also a comfort I hadn't felt in ages, if ever. I found myself leaning into the brewing intensity between us, sharing my most daring thoughts instead of running scared by default. And I unfolded in front of him. He mirrored the same motion, and when we left one another the next morning, both a somberness and a happy appreciation filled the air. It was an exchange I let be a mere beautiful moment with a man I may never see again, but I knew I would still remember him as the anchor to one of the best birthdays I've had in my entire life. And I would never have experienced it had I not loved myself enough to take a solo trip to Paris. Thank you.
Hello, Tiffany. Thank you so much for joining us for the after the release craft interview. We absolutely loved your story, still swooning over it. I know everyone who's listened to it so far is still swooning over it. So we have some burning questions for you
Mhm.
today, but also some questions about your craft and how you put together stories so beautifully. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Tiffany, jumping right in, we want to know how you identify creatively. Do you call yourself a writer, an artist, storyteller, and why?
I think in general, I would say like I'm a creative person. Sometimes the words do flow more so in, I guess, prose. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's poetry. And with this type of expression here, I would call myself more a storyteller. Yeah.
Has it ever
Did
been
you
hard
ever
for you to
have?
claim, yeah, any of your
Oh, go
titles?
ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's been hard. I would say the hardest part is identifying as one singular identity.
Hmm.
And I tend to be inspired by different creative art forms. I took a pottery class while I was here, and sometimes that inspires me to lean more towards other creative outlets. So I feel like it's all interchangeable.
Yeah.
And just describing myself as a writer or an author, especially it can be difficult when you don't have something tangible yet to connect that specific identity to. But
Hmm.
it's all there, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Tiffany, how Glenn and I from the beginning, even when you were answering the first question on stage at release one, which is how we met you,
Mhm.
you have such a distinct voice, even when you were answering the question. So hearing you, I think, orate and then also reading your writing and then also now being able to hear it live, very distinct voice, very beautiful voice, very warm voice.
Thank you.
How did you define that? I think as both a writer, because we're going to claim that overall storyteller, but writing and speaking.
Um, my speaking voice, I would say it's it's kind of like a mental calmness that I have. When
Hmm.
I'm beginning to tell something, I like to center myself in like the power of the moment as I'm like kind of reliving it when I'm telling it. So if the way that I'm speaking or the voice that I have resonates, it's because I'm like back in the memory
Hmm.
as I'm expressing it live. So thank you. I guess that you're feeling the warmth or the sensation like with me. And that's how I've wanted people to feel, as if that they're sort of living in these moments wherever I am as I'm also reliving and retelling. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Your work is very transportative. Like you go with you. Um, and what do you think is the anatomy of a good story?
The anatomy of a good story. For me, I anchor myself in truth first. I understand that there are different pockets of truth, especially when you're writing about other people. So I try to leave like an openness up to not just my perspective or my emotions around certain experiences and situations, but around possibilities of what other people are experiencing. So, as long as I'm trying to sift through my truth or potentially someone else's truth and doing it with a sincerity and a certain amount of love and earnestness in what I'm writing, then I feel like that's the core of any good story that you're telling.
And that leads perfectly into what is the function of honesty in your work, since I think Glenn and I are always looking for, or our ears perk up when we hear the word truth, and we know that that is vastly different for other people. Their comfort with it, they're willing to go in depth with it, and just like you said, Tiffany, when it involves other people. what are the ethics and boundaries around that? So what is the function of honesty in your work?
I think the functionality of it for me is really just being authentic to what's being told. You know, I never want to like misshape the character of someone else, you know, and for me, I also, because I'm writing about things that have actually happened, um, I want to make sure that even in the honesty, there's a veil of like privacy there, you know, or like protecting like the identity of people involved. So like I have like a covering, you know, where I call the person that actually, you know, experienced in my specific piece the matador. You know, I try to shape that identity as well to the sincerity of the energy of someone. So as long as I'm being honest and not sort of creating a caricature of people, but getting a sense of people's true personality and like what they've given to me as a gift of themselves. I believe everyone shares themselves. It is a gift. And I think that's the core of like any honest um, exchange between people and stories.
Definitely. I'm one to use a veil as well. I think, even a little name change, a little
Yeah,
name change, it never hurt anybody. So
yeah.
it's a it's I think, um I think it's such a vulnerable thing to do. It's a vulnerable act to even, I think, introduce other people into your world when you are writing, when you are storytelling. And how do you do that in a wholesome way, in a three-dimensional way,
Hmm.
and not one that is just like, oh, this person's all bad, this person's all good, this person, it
Yeah.
was all romance, it was all, it's there's so much more, I think, to building and shaping characters than simply like presenting them as one thing. And I think with the Matador, we felt that. I think even in the
Okay.
exchange that you had with about your families, you kind of see, like, you get like a peek behind the curtain, but we don't get a full one because we're back in the moment. So
Mhm.
it was very enjoyable to kind of even imagine the depths that you guys talked and kind of saw each other in ways that weren't just, like primal sexual tension, which was there too, which was there, and we all loved that. We loved that for you. We did. Glenn is back. Glenn is back. It is still recording. Don't worry. We
That was so crazy. My screen just turned
when-
bright purple and it just was like, bloop.
it's time for a new laptop, buddy. It's time for a new laptop.
A bunch of
Uh,
things happening. Okay, sorry.
it's been a long weekend, Tiffany. Okay, what is your relationship with sharing and releasing your work? This is a one that Glenn and I really wanted to know, because this release, we were like, Tiffany is performing. We don't care what she got to do to get there. We don't care if she says no. We don't care if she's not in town. She's going we gonna have Tiffany for love, because it just makes so much sense. So what has been your relationship to sharing, releasing your work, and has that changed?
Well, this is like a newly formed relationship. Hopefully, it's one of the healthier ones that I have in my life. But it was my first time performing my work live at Craft and Release. And the feeling that I got and the sense of it says that it won't be the last. And in terms of my work in general, I just take more time to release like in little waves, you know, writing an article here and making sure that I really form and craft the biggest work, which is my memoir that I'm planning to release hopefully next year.
And in thinking about that, as you're kind of gearing up for that, hopefully I didn't miss this question already, but can you talk to us more about what your practice is? And we'll get into this when we talk specifically about this piece, but we know that this is something you've been working on for a little while that seems to have taken like different formats, or that you've written parts of it. What does your practice look like overall, especially when thinking about writing a memoir? Like, how do you tackle something like that? Do you take it in parts, and where do you begin? You know.
Um, well, the best thing about it is that I've kept a lot of like meticulous journals throughout the years. So that's usually like the starting place of like excavating memory, I guess I would call it. Um, Reliving those moments, also the photographs and things that I've taken from some of my travels, like what did I experience, and using that as a sense of like an outline to shape um, what I'm doing, how I'm like really centering like the potency of those moments in that time that I'm discussing. I'm very thankful. I take my omega 3s, so my memory is pretty good. So I'm just really catering to everything that I have at my disposal for the time that I have it. And just my writing routine is very simple. I need classical music, some nature, whether that's a little floral arrangement or being outside. And that's how I sort of get into the memory and the words.
Is
That's
it
beautiful.
a everyday writing practice? Is it is it once a week? Is it when inspiration strikes? I know, it can be different for everyone. So
Mhm.
is it like hardcore writing sprints on the weekends? What does the schedule look like if there is one?
Um, Well, I've created more discipline around it. So it is like an everyday occurrence. Even if it's just like one really sharp line that comes to me, I'll put it in a notes app if I'm on the train. I try to journal every day at least. So, like, I have like a running occurrence of what I can pull from different moods and attitudes or sketches throughout the day. And then there's like the strict sort of pockets of writing where like okay I have my headphones in, I'm listening to the soundtrack of Pride and Prejudice, and like we're getting in, I don't know, 45 minutes sitting outside at the New York Public Library. That's been really good for me, is like going out to specific places where it combines sunlight, nature, a sort of environment where other people are doing similar things like writing or studying, and that helps me get into the pocket to just write for like a couple hours, maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes, but at least once a day, different attitudes of writing, but there's something there. And I try not to guilt or shame myself when I don't get as much in, but that's the process so far.
That's helpful. There's a lot of intention behind that, for sure. I could
Okay.
Exactly.
use some of
Let's,
those tips. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Some of those tips and tricks might need to be tried out today, you know. But yeah, leaving the environment I think has helped me a lot too, because you can very much so get stuck looking at the same wall, and it doesn't have to be the most beautiful environment, but I think just taking
Mhm.
yourself out
Hmm.
um, will get the mind jogging quite a bit.
Yeah, it works for me.
So that is the end of our signature crap questions, Tiffany.
Okay.
So we'll be moving into a few burning ones. And my first question, per
Yeah.
this story, per the Matador, we left off. Glenn and I got the honor of knowing kind of just the bookend, not the bookend. We don't know where it completely ended, but we know that there the term soulmate was thrown in there. Eventually towards the end,
Mhm.
and we I personally I wonder how you kind of are synthesizing those details. Like, is it unrequited? Is it something that you feel like you want to go back to and revisit? Not this particular situation with this person, is it something that you're letting lie? uh I guess that's just me. That's the
That's her trying to
wanting
get in your
of the romantic
business.
ending. I know. Okay, there you go. There you go. I'm I'm curious as to where you're at, and I'm sure the
And you're in
audience is
Paris
curious to where
now.
you're at with that. And you're in Paris right now, currently. So,
I am.
uh,
It's very layered. Like,
take us through the layers. Take us through the layers, Tiffany. As
okay.
comfortable, whatever layers you're comfortable speaking about.
Yeah, I was initially shocked by the information of like finding out that this person was a soulmate. I feel like that was a very big word, and dissecting that term and the meaning behind it has been something that I still am going through even months later. Um, it's it's tricky. Like I wouldn't say it's unrequited, but it's something that we can't like fully explore because I live in New York, he lives in Paris, right? So there's already that layer of distance there, but there's acknowledgement on both of our parts that there is a deep connection that meant more than a couple hours one night. Um, and we really enjoyed one another, but it's just not the time. Sometimes you could meet the right person at the wrong time, and like there's no further discovery there. And I'm getting more okay with that. Um, it's still like an effect there, surprisingly. I did see him, not intentionally, but it happened a couple days ago while I was here. I felt him and I saw him, and I don't think he like fully saw me because I instantly turned my eyesight to somewhere else. I just needed to like bury my eyes somewhere else at the time. And it was near the passage, I guess the passage where the bookshop is. They also have a crochet shop where I was going to look for crochet yarn for my mom because she crochets. And that's when it sort of happened, but nothing more from that. It's just a potent moment that I don't know if will turn into anything more from our experience in February. So, that's that's that. I am coming back in August, so who knows what will happen. But for now, like I have other priorities and things to focus on. As well as I'm sure the Matador has things that he needs to prioritize as well. So I never say never.
Yeah.
Never
I'm there.
say
I heard
never.
someone recently say that our generation needs to be more open to the idea of lovers um,
Hmm.
than something that needs to be eternal or lifelong, you know?
That.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Bring back the spring fling.
Bring
You
back the flings.
know?
Yeah, she's like, bring back the flings and the lovers. Um, yeah, it's good to have a few lovers in life.
Hmm.
Yeah, you learn
Hmm.
from them.
Absolutely.
They give you a lot.
You do.
Um,
You do.
to that point, Tiffany, um, it's kind of like a two-part question. I'm curious what continues to pull you to Paris, and what that
Hmm.
does for you creatively and spiritually. Historically, it's been a place for many artists, many Black artists specifically, to go get in touch with their creative practice, to feel a sense of creative freedom that they're unable to feel in the United States. So that's part one, and then adding to that, as you think about it as a backdrop within your work, um, just how do you work to sort of transport us? We touched on that a little bit before, but just the function of setting in place in your writing, um, yeah, and the importance of it.
Hmm. Well, I know a little bit about what it is about Paris. So I'll start there with that sort of tidbit. But if you've ever heard of astrocartography, it's basically places, in the world where it can be more harmonious or disharmonious for certain aspects of living based on your birth chart, right? So, funnily enough, Paris happens to be along my Jupiter line, which is like for ease and expansion and opportunity and luck. And when I'm here, all of those things happen to just flow easily. Like things that wouldn't work out just seem to work out, and magically so. Like there's an ease to my life that I don't necessarily feel when I'm back in New York. And I felt it before knowing that little bit of information, but I just am able to have different types of connections here. My love life is better, even if it's not like necessarily long term. It's much more pleasant and engaging and intentional and intellectual and cultural. Like it's just easy. And in terms of like writing and having the city be a backdrop, I think it's just so, I guess, inspiring to have that vision or that rest. And things just happen cinematically the way that they happen. I don't like craft the life. I just fall into things with an open mind and an open heart. And these are the things that happen. And these are my exchanges with people. Right. So I try to write about them um, with as much honesty and color things as like truthfully as they happen. And it could be any other city, I suppose, but it just happens to happen like very lovely and freely here, and I embrace all of it. I feel like I am a different person when I'm here. I don't know, like I have a different glow to me. um, I have a different lightness, because I next thing you know, you don't know anybody, right? So if your most embarrassing self or anything happens, you can say, "Je suis American. I don't even know what's going on. Je ne sais pas," and it doesn't matter, So I think that's the energy that I kind of have in this city. There's no mistakes. It's just like layers of experience.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I hope everyone can find that little slice
Yeah.
of city and place for themselves, because it
Mm.
just, there is a particular feeling, I think, when people go places. I've had that conversation a lot over the last few weeks, of where people don't even consider like their homeland that place, right? And that's for a lot of African artists that I've been talking to. They're like, oh, like I'll go to Senegal and that's where I feel alive. That's where I just can
Mhm.
create. Um, and that's not necessarily where their ancestry is, per se. So it's just interesting how that works, of
Yeah.
where you can go somewhere and feel
Where you're
like
called.
yourself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It
Do you
is, and it's
do you
funny
see
enough.
yourself moving, or is it just a love affair? Is it kind of a love affair with the city?
It's funny because I would like walk along the street and like see different things of, like those realty, different
Hmm.
places where they'll show apartments or, homes for sale and stuff. And I saw one that was like 138K, beautifully renovated apartment in Le Marais area.
Ooh,
And I was like, that could be mine.
Could.
$127 a year for property taxes. I was like,
what?
that's a matcha latte a month, $10 a month. That's not, but it just feels like so tangible and so real,
Yes.
more real to me than I think the landscape, if we're even talking about real estate and, having like a little piece of like a home to yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, I just see things as being more tangible, more achievable for living the type of life that I want to live and having my little piece of paradise. So I definitely see myself more here long term than I do in America, just to have like a little bit of ease and, freedom and happiness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All things, all things that you
Right.
rightfully so deserve. All things you
Thank
deserve.
you. I feel like we all deserve them, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We
I've
do.
got a little question for
We
you,
very much
Tiffany.
so do.
Are you a reader of
Mhm.
romance? This is kind of my own thing. At my work, we
Mhm.
talk a lot about romance as a genre and how it's just hugely popular. It's like
Mm.
one of the biggest genres in literature right now. I'm curious if you read romance and what your thoughts on just the importance of romance as a genre, like why we need it.
Um, I feel like I haven't read much romance in a while, but I have watched like shows and television, and like Bridgerton and all of these things that have been sensationalized in that genre. And what I get a sense from is that we're kind of all starved of love as we really need it, like as we need to feel it. I feel like a lot of us are probably touch starved as well. So we just get our sensations where we can, even if it's fictionalized. We want to be seen and spoken to with grace and a touch of, romance. We want flowers. We want someone to say that they burn for us,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't sleep right because we haunt their dreams. Like, we want a little piece of that. And I feel very lucky that I've tasted a little bit of it, and whatever that I've experienced, if I could share it into the world and people also get that sense, especially me being like a Black woman and Black women not having as much of themselves being seen as like the love interest, or like having a sort of eat, pray, love experience. Like, we're just not really seen in that way. And I feel like I owe it to myself to present my honesty and truth so that other Black women could say, you know what, I went to Paris because of you.
Yes.
I left myself open minded. Like, I went to this place and it was so great. And I that's what I would like to have happen. And yeah, I enjoy all of the content. Just be happy, just be in love, even if that love is just for yourself. A lot of what I do, it has nothing really to do with the men. They're kind of an afterthought of me already loving myself in any city that I'm in and what that looks like.
That's so powerful. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. Ooh. All right, Tiffany. We're gonna move to the last section
Okay.
of the interview, and that is drum roll. You know that we have the question cards from the show.
Oh, hmm.
We do. And
Hmm.
we are gonna have you pick a number from what? G
It's
one,
1
2,
through 87. These are our
1 through 87.
questions on love from our All Too Human series. So
Yes.
pick a number between 1 and 87, and I'll read you the question.
I'm getting 14.
14.
Valentine's Day
Uh
14.
huh.
Yes, yes.
Wow, interesting. What is the difference between love and infatuation?
Oh my God, I'm gonna get this question. um, I feel like love has an ugliness to it that not a lot of us um like acknowledge enough. Like, in relationships, it's kind of hard when people show you an ugly side to them. I'm not talking like unforgivable, disrespectful things, but I'm talking in the vein of something that's like not necessarily pleasant, habits that aren't really compatible. How do you show up being kind and present and open to still loving someone? Because I do believe that love is a choice at the end of the day. It is a sort of labor, if you will, when um, the veil of, all the glowy, romantic aspects of romance have sort of fallen to the wayside, and you just have a person in front of you who's probably not that lovable in that moment. That's something that I've had to practice more and more, instead of judging someone based on their inability to show up in the way that I want them to at that exact time. And trusting that when they have in the past, they will continue to do so in the future, and letting that dictate how I treat people, the character, their consistency. So I think the difference there is the trust that you have, that a kind-hearted person that you've allowed to enter your life is going to show up in the way that they have in the past, even if they falter once or twice. Um, so forgiveness and really seeing someone and being patient. That's my one of my flaws that I'm trying to turn into a virtue. So that sifts through that infatuation is like really seeing someone and really loving someone, even when they're kind of being unlovable in a moment.
Perfectly said.
I don't know if you hear this. Yeah, beautifully said. Love is much more of a responsibility
Mm.
than infatuation. Infatuation is easy to feel.
Infatuation is
It
fun.
is.
Until it
Infatuation is fun.
can be a little hard to
Yeah,
get over.
exactly. Until it might not be.
Yeah.
Until it might not be. But
Mhm.
yes, love very much so is a choice, and I love what you said about it. You know, it actually serving as an umbrella for the ugly parts as well. Like
Yeah.
you can't do away with those and call it love.
You can't,
You
unfortunately.
can't. You can't. Tiffany,
Hmm.
this has truly been a pleasure for us, and seeing you from release one to performing at release three and looking like a phoenix on stage.
Yes.
Um, it's truly the reason why we created Craft and Release is to have and find uh, beautiful folks like yourself, talented folks like yourself who simply just need the stage. That's it. That's all they need. You didn't necessarily need us. All you needed was that stage and a microphone and your story that you already have. So we're very thankful for you being a part of our community. You're not, we're not going anywhere and you aren't either. So you're stuck with us. So so thank you very much for being a part of our community and also just serving as a literally like a living, breathing example for Glenn and I as to why we started this in the space that we want to create.
Thank you so much for creating the space in the first place. I feel like we were just, I hate to use the word starved again, but I feel like we're famished. We've been famished, especially all the Black writers that I know of, places where we can feel comfortable and safe to express ourselves and sort of share that energy in that community. So I'm so glad that I came to the first one, even though y'all tricked me and put me on stage for a conversation card. But I'm thankful for it. It's brought me out of my shell, really, and I will continue to show up. And I very much appreciate the both of you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Memoir launch. We there for you as well.
Yes.
We there for you as well. All
Ah.
right.